What is up, everybody, and welcome to the NFL Showdown Pre-Lock Show, a playoff edition. Brother, the playoffs are here. We had a great wild card weekend.
We did. Maybe you did.
Some people did. Well, it was fun. It was fun
for sure.
Entertaining games. We're gonna wrap it up this weekend with the Monday night, which they've thrown in for us the last few years. A little Monday night action to round off wild card weekend. It's going to be a good game. Should be a fun game, and it's going to take us through the wild card round. And honestly, once you get past this round, it starts to get a little slim pickings for DFS and stuff after this. So we're cherishing this little 6-game slate they gave us here for wild card weekend. But joined today to wrap it up for the wild card weekend by Beer Maker fan who's been grinding these streets for many a decades now. Beer, how you doing, man?
Damn, decades.
Well,
you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong.
Know, right? I'm not. I was just looking at it the other day. We've been in this thing for decades, man.
This is our third decade, if you want to get technical. So, wow. All right. Let's get that out of the way. You're right. As far as the weekend goes, some great games. We saw, the Buffalo Jacksonville game was incredible. Chicago, as much as I'm a Green Bay fan. I don't know how you possibly lose that game, but kudos to the Bears. They've been doing it all season long, and a lot of teams would have packed it in and been done, and they kept fighting till the end. So can they keep doing that? I don't know. I think your luck runs out eventually, but all in all, a great weekend of football, and no Chiefs, no Eagles. And if there's fans out there, hey, sorry, but some new blood, man. I'm excited. In this game, unfortunately, not the best on the weekend. We had some higher total games, some more intriguing matchups. But this one I do like for DFS. I think the majority of people are going one direction, and we're going to talk about that. There's a lot of ways I like to go to get different tonight.
There certainly is a lot of ways that we can get different, and we're going to talk about all those ways coming up. And as always, this is going to be a show that is driven by the chat and the questions, and we got 40 minutes till this thing kicks off. We can stay here all 40 minutes. If you guys have enough questions, you want to chat around about things, by all means, do it. Fire it off in chat. Conversation points, DFS fans, whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about it, and we're going to walk you through each and every position here. Just kind of give you an overview of where Beer's head's at, where my head's at. If you can take anything, you can read all the other articles out there, the surveys out there, content. Just piece it all together and figure out what you want to do with your lineups tonight, or player props. We'll talk player props too coming up. So get your questions in, and we'll do that. But in the meantime, let's go with what should we do? We should do position by position. But I would first and foremost. Okay, you mentioned it pre-show. I did want to bring it up. Best balls, your playoff best balls. How are they looking? What was your downfall? If you told me they didn't look so great, but what was your downfall then if they don't look so great?
I mean, loading up on too many bye teams and not enough, to get you through this week. Just not great. So. That playoff basketball is somewhat new to me. Got into it last year, so I'm still trying to find my way there. I mean, DFS we've been doing for 30 years, it seems like. The basketball stuff somewhat new, so no terrible mistakes. But the thing is, you get in those drafts, and you as soon as things don't line up, then it's haywire, and you're scrambling. And I think just being more prepared moving forward. But I didn't do a ton of them, so.
Yeah, I got into it a few years ago, and I definitely made some mistakes that first year, and then I learned from them pretty quick. And I like them, man. I definitely.
Oh, they're fun for sure.
I definitely play them more than I do the one in the summertime when everybody's firing off best balls for the season. I like the playoffs even more because of that hidden strategy of the bye weeks and what do you do with them. But the one that I like to jump in a big one. I like to jump in like big dollar one, or every year and see how Man, I'm fading. I'm fading tonight to try to get into the top 2 to get through, man, because the Eagles buried me with Devontae and A.J. Brown. My Eagles stack buried me yesterday.
Who are we avoiding?
I got to fade like a pretty big game out of Stroud and Nico Collins. Got to fade it. So if I can somehow pull that off, then I can get through. And I've got a full team going next week. So, and that's all you can hope for. And then you hope that you sit back and you hope for the Buffalo Chicago Super Bowl, which that team would be. Which it's all who knows this year. We were talking about it pre-show. It could be Buffalo, Chicago in the Super Bowl. It could be literally any 2 teams from these conferences in the Super Bowl. This thing is so wide open this year, right?
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. I think anybody, we could sit here and say these 2 teams tonight, do they have a chance? Probably not, but the Texans have a championship defense. And when it comes to playoffs, that can travel, that can win games. It's a totally different environment. They go to New England. It's a young quarterback. Yeah, he looked pretty good yesterday, but the inexperience can also be a factor. So you could make a solid case for any of these teams, even the Steelers. Maybe Rodgers got one more run in them. You got your favorites, but that's what makes it fun. All of these games, we're going to have spreads, we're going to have favorites, but look at what the Panthers did. I don't think anybody expected that to even hang in that game, be winning that game for the majority of it, and come up short at the end as 10.5-point underdogs. So it's been fun. I think it's only going to continue to be fun. And however it plans out, we're going to have a great Super Bowl. I know that.
Yeah, it is going to be good. You talked about the Houston defense being maybe the best unit still left on the board out of all the teams, offense, defense. They might be. And then there's a piece of me that thinks, you know what? This game today, though, man, these games today are built on offense. And is that going to be enough? Because that offense for Houston can be a little bit sluggish, a lot sluggish sometimes. So I guess that's where we'll start it off at the quarterback position here. Just looking in general at Rodgers and Stroud. I think Aaron Rodgers is, for a quarterback, this is some pretty low ownership for a showdown for a quarterback. And for rightful reason, the matchup, and he's in a system. It's not super great. Although every once in a while it can be good. But this is some low ownership for Rodgers. So how do you come out on Rodgers versus Stroud in your lineups tonight with that ownership on Rodgers?
I like the discount here. I mean, obviously looking at numbers, what's going to jump off the page and what's driving ownership is the passing attack of Houston. I mean, we look at Pittsburgh, not great against quarterbacks, not great against wide receivers. I mean, they're up there in the bottom 5 in fantasy points allowed to those positions. So that's going to drive a ton of captain ownership. As you're seeing on the screen, the numbers have come down a little bit on Stroud, but I wouldn't be surprised to see, these guys, Stroud and Collins, be 40+% owned in captain. So I don't know that I want to captain Aaron Rodgers. So far, I haven't gotten there, but I do like this discount that you're getting on him. And, the problem with Rodgers, it spreads the ball to so many guys. We're going to talk about guys we talked about 15 years ago, the MVSs and the Adam Thielens of the world. So there's so many different ways. So stacking him can be a little bit difficult. Where Stroud, you have a much better sense of where the ball's going. It's going to Nico Collins. It's going to Higgins. It's going to Schultz. Even them. You start getting down into the Christian Kirks of the world. So as a whole, I'm actually not as high on the quarterbacks as everybody tonight. The total very low here. I don't see this one kind of going back and forth. I think both teams be happy to win an ugly game, run the ball, especially Pittsburgh. I think it's a much better matchup for them on the ground than through the air. So I'm lower on the quarterbacks tonight. Not that I'm fading them, but I will not captain a quarterback tonight, and I'll probably be under the field even in the flex.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you as far as being under the field in the captain and in the captain for sure. MVP is a different story on FanDuel a little bit, but definitely a little bit under the field there. But now we go to running backs, which I think is interesting because there's not a great running back here, but there's several pretty good ones, man, that I think you can get to. We're going to get some ownership on Gainwell, probably going to be the highest owned because of the way he's played the back half of the year. Nice little pickup for them. Pittsburgh, and Woody Marks came on to be the starter. Nick Chubb looks like he's completely washed. We kind of knew that, and Marks took over. Not a great offensive line for him, but he gets things done. Those are your two highest owned guys. Where do you fall on the running backs in this game?
Now, this position I love. I want as much exposure to running backs as I can, and I'm going to be playing all three of those guys. Gainwell, we know, receiving role has been awesome for him of late. Now, we get Metcalf back. Maybe he takes a little bit of a hit there, but Rodgers loves getting – Rodgers don't want to get hit. He doesn't want to run very much, so he wants to get the ball out of his hands. And against these corners, I think these receivers are really going to have a tough time. So how do you do that? You target the slot where they're vulnerable, and you get the ball in the hands of Gainwell and Jaylen Warren. So I really like them both. I think they're both captain plays. In fact, I really like Jaylen Warren captains. As most people would pick one or the other, they're going with Kenneth Gainwell. It's just what have you done for me lately? He has been the better player. But remember, we're playing the field. We're playing against everybody else. If I'm going to get a discount on Jaylen Warren there, I really like both of them as captains tonight. And I think you can play them together. They're going to want to give these guys the ball 30, 35, 40 times if they can. And it's not just the carries, it's through the air as well. So those are actually my two favorite captains. I also really like Woody Marks. We don't have Jawar Jordan. Chubb's kind of been phased out here. He's a great pass catcher. We haven't seen it a ton lately, but that to me was his best skill, coming out of college. This guy can catch the ball. So I think all three of them are very captain worthy, especially with everybody flocking to the passing game. And I'm going to have at least two running backs in every lineup tonight. I just think it's one of them games, grind it out, not a high scoring game. I don't know that we get a big ceiling game out of any receivers or quarterbacks. I really like the running backs tonight.
Yeah, moving on to receiver, gonna talk about this position, and then I want to hit you with a couple questions real quick since we're here at receiver. Hutchinson or MVS?
MVS. Hutchinson seems to get a bump when Collins is out. So with him back, and they have so many guys. Higgins has arrived. Kirk's playing the slot. You have Knoll kind of waiting in the wings. So I don't know how many snaps are even available for Hutchinson, where MVS is operating as wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh. And we know Aaron Rodgers likes the guy. He's going to throw him the ball. So I think MVS easily there for me.
In the same token, okay, we just talked about MVS. You answered that a little bit. Is 2.4K too much to leave on the table in single entry?
I'm usually chop anything goes in Showdown. You're definitely going to be unique there. So if you like the build, I think what happens, people get that, and then they just feel like, oh, I have to get up to this guy. So I'm going to say it's not too much. Normally I'd say, let's see what you can get up to, but there's some pricing that's very interesting here, especially on DraftKings. It was specifically with the Pittsburgh wide receivers. Some of that pricing is intriguing. So I'm going to say no. I think it's like a Wild West Showdown. Anything goes. I don't think so.
Yeah. Let's see. Comment in chat, going back to RG has Warren slightly more owned than Gainwell. Yeah, I think it's going to be flipped. I think Gainwell is going to be slightly more owned. Some of that stuff will get ironed out closer to kickoff. So be aware of that. Wide receivers, real quick. Let's talk about some wide receivers here. We just kind of hit on it a little bit, but let's get a little bit more in depth. I mean, your boy Nico Collins is going to be probably the highest owned player in the game when you combine flex and captain ownership and all that good stuff. So, and he's an awesome player, but at what point is that ownership and that salary so much that, man, we start looking elsewhere?
Another underweight play for me, and it's scary. Nico Collins, we know, is one of the best receivers in football here, but there just isn't a lot of places for people to spend money. So I think it's just elevating his ownership that much. Not to mention the matchup's great. I mean, Pittsburgh bottom 5 DraftKings points allowed to the wide receiver position. So, but I mentioned all those other guys that they can spread the ball to. So if you're Pittsburgh, who are you worried about stopping? I want to stop Nico Collins. I want to make Christian Kirk beat me. I want to make Dalton Schultz beat me. So I think he's just going to see so much coverage, and not say he can't have a good game. I'm not telling you not to play him, but at that ownership, I'm leaning so much on the running backs here that it's almost, I'm underweight on the entire kind of passing game across the board here. I'm going to have some, of course, But I'm a little worried about him. Metcalf on the other side, I'm sure we're going to get to have some concerns there as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other side there. Our boy DK Metcalf makes a return from, I don't know what he was doing in Detroit, man. He's out there slapping fans around.
Wilding out, man.
I mean, I get it, but it literally should have cost your team a playoff spot if the guy doesn't push it right for Baltimore. Yeah. So like you almost cost your team a shot at the playoffs, but he's back tonight. But he's going against a really good defense with some absolute monsters out there in that secondary, man. I mean, where do you rank DK in terms of how much you're going to use him tonight compared to the field?
I'm going to have very little. And it's another scary proposition. And people are like, where the hell are you spending your money? You're not using Collins. You're not using Metcalf. I am loading up on those running backs. I would much rather play the quarterbacks. If I'm picking Stroud or Collins, I'm Stroud. If I'm picking Rodgers or Metcalf, I'm Rodgers in those scenarios. So, DK, we can make the argument he's going to be excited. He's going to be fired up. He's coming back, knowing he made a mistake. You mentioned it. The secondary is not only good, it's the best in football, and it's not just one guy. It doesn't matter the matchups. Stingley gets all the hype, but no matter where DK goes, he's going to be facing a tough matchup here. Third fewest DraftKings points allowed to this position. He's a big play guy. We love that. He can get it done in one play. I don't see that happening against this defense tonight. What kind of rust do we have after a couple weeks off? Another underweight stance for me tonight, both Nico and DK Metcalf.
So what about these lower end pieces there?
That's where it gets interesting for sure, especially in the Pittsburgh side because it's not clear. We can make a case for MVS. We just talked about it's Rodgers' boy. Calvin Austin is always intriguing for his big playability. And then the old man Adam Thielen is out there as well. So I like dipping more into that group. I'm going to have a little bit of all of them. I really like Thielen on DraftKings. He's priced higher than the other two. It's much easier to click. MVS at 3,200, Austin much cheaper. That's going to have Adam Thielen, who I wouldn't, if I'm ranking them, it's MVS 1, Austin 2, Thielen 3. But when I'm looking at ownership, if I can get that big of a discount, I'm certainly going to have all of them, but Thielen really stands out to me as somebody that's not going to catch much ownership. Other side, I think most people are going to go to Christian Kirk. He's way too cheap on DraftKings. So I'm kind of avoiding that one, mixing in a little Higgins. Somebody asked about Jalen Noel. I do think he's in play here tonight, not getting to Hutchinson. So this is more the wheelhouse for me, is getting these value receivers from both teams. But Thielen, the one I really think is very intriguing tonight.
Yeah, Boy Dean's in chat already chiming for the Plums. Brother, you got to stick around for another 10 minutes for the Plums. We can't give away the Plums too early, man. We're still letting this things marinate. So quick question here, and I was going to check it with Raw. Do we have any weather issues in Pittsburgh? I pulled up Roth's report, and he says no, just the freezing, Winds don't seem bad. Yeah, it's cold. Like, doesn't look like anything's going to play now. Some people want to play the game of, it's cold and Houston's from Houston, and then they're in a dome and they won't like the cold. Man, you can miss me with all that. I've played that angle too many years and got burned by it. It doesn't matter. These guys are all
here. CJ Stroud, Ohio State. It's cold in Ohio. Nico Collins, Michigan. It's cold in Michigan.
These guys are more like about 90% of the league is psychos anyway. Basically, they don't care, man. Like a lot of them don't care. Occasionally you get a guy who don't want to be out there in the cold, but otherwise it's just cold tonight. It's no big
32.
Deal.
It's not 3.
What was it in Chicago on Saturday? That was cold ass weather right there. Snowing and
20s.
And you look at it on TV and you think there's zero in that game that's messing with these guys. There's nothing in that game that's distracting them from playing top-notch football. Nothing in this, no weather concerns at all. And that was really cold and a little bit snowy. So no weather concerns out there in Pittsburgh tonight. Any Fairbairn captain for you? We're going to talk about kickers in just a second, but might as well kind of talk on kickers a little bit. Any Fairbairn captain for you?
I haven't gotten there. I mean, it's easy to look at the game logs, be like, man, this guy racks up points. It's going to be an ugly game. Let's not forget that this is one of the toughest kicking stadiums there is. I mean, especially anything from distance. You just don't see.
As Tyler Loop.
Yeah, you don't see long field goals. I mean, they got priests out there with the holy water, even trying to rattle the kickers. So I like them, and I see the rationale. And normally low scoring game, I definitely have kicker captains. Tonight I haven't gotten there. Again, the stadium a little bit of a concern for me in that
one. So on the same token, defense / kicker. So defenses. Do you think there's more upside in a defense tonight or a kicker tonight? Let's put it like that.
Probably the kickers.
Yeah. So you'd be more if I twisted your arm and said you got to roster a captain and it's got to be one of these crazy spots. Is it a kicker, a defense, or down to a guy like, let's say, Thielen or MVS or somebody? What would you rather have for a captain?
I would probably say Houston defense would be my favorite if I'm picking amongst the kickers in the defenses. So I'm going to have a lot of them, all four across my lineups. We'll get into that, but I think they are certainly in play. I don't know about the captain upside on Fairbairn. So that being said, he probably kicked 6 field goals tonight. So don't change it on my account.
That's the thing about so week 18, he put up 26 points. That's not captain points. That's just, he had 18. Like Fairbairn has that distance, and every once in a while, and then you start thinking about the defenses. What if these defenses are really Houston is good, period. Pittsburgh's not a slouch. They started out slow, but they got better. What if they really start to buckle down around that red zone? And Fairbairn, I could see a path where there's not very many touchdowns, and a kicker like a Fairbairn might get you there, but typically it's not a big upside play, but you never know. I got a question.
You need at least 4 field goals.
Yeah, and it's possible.
At least. It's certainly possible. He's already done it. So
yeah, he's got a big leg. They'll let him try from 50 plus. But can you fade Aaron Rodgers if you have DK Metcalf at captain?
Yeah, I mean, DK could 2 touchdowns or give him 1, racks up a bunch of catches. That one's tougher because he's not a big reception guy. He's got to get there on big plays. But I know that seems to be a rule, and most of the time I have a captain like that. I'm pairing him with his quarterback, but you can certainly fade it. It makes you different. Most DK captain lineups are going to come preloaded with Rodgers, so it's an easy way to get different.
Yeah, we'll go back to receivers real quick. Do we like Jalen Noel tonight is a question.
I don't mind him. He's Christian Kirk, yes, is in that role. I don't get it. This kid has come on and shown what he can do, and I think he'll have some opportunities. The problem, again, I think both teams want to run the ball. So it's got to be either he's replacing Kirk in the lineup or they go to 4 wide receiver sets. I don't know how often they get to that, but he's made some big plays. So it may only take 1 or 2 targets, and he can land in the optimal lineup. So I'm fine with him.
Just kind of an obscure question for you, but does this feel like a 3-3 or a 4-2 stack kind of night? And which way would you lean on that 4-2?
I'm more of the 4-2s, and I think a lot of people are going to lean 4-2 Houston as the favorite. I'm actually more 4-2 Pittsburgh.
Interesting. Real quick on FanDuel, if we're playing on FanDuel, question in chat. Your favorite contrarian MVP and low-owned flex for tournaments, large field tournaments on FanDuel?
So I would say as far as a low-owned captain over there, or MVP, whatever they're calling it these days, I don't know what the ownership on Warren will be, but I really like him tonight. I think everyone's going to be more excited about Gainwell and some of the other options. As far as a low-owned play in general, I have a good feeling about Adam Thielen tonight. Feeling on Thielen. So he'll be my kind of off-the-radar play tonight.
Nice. Very, very nice. Let's see here. Dean wants the Plums. 18 minutes left. Just give me a few minutes, Dean. We're going to we're going to talk about who are you getting the most at Kaplen?
Gainwell and Warren right now. I'm pretty much split on both.
Yeah, let's see here. Fair enough. Let's see. All right. You know what? Real quick, before we get into Plums and all that other good stuff, I do want to can you bring up the PixLab stuff, the PixLab board, and you can pop in here in the 3-man booth and let's talk to the people about the PixLab. So this is PixLab, guys. What it is a nice, clean way of showing you the odds on the different sports books and prop sites and what stands out. You can see right there. If you look at it closer, it's got, all these nice numbers for us dealing with how we rate this particular prop. You can sort and filter through all that kind of stuff. And it's always fun. So that's your Pick Lab stuff. That's Underdog and Prize Picks is what I use it for. Prize Picks, you can enter something and then you click a button and it enters it right to your Prize Picks for you. And all you got to do is click submit on Prize Picks, but it'll load the whole tab before it. Underdog doesn't quite have that yet, but I'm sure they're working on something. If you use the code FLEX20 at Fantasy Labs, because that's where this is, you get $20 off your first payment. Let's walk the people through. I want to do a 3-player pick using this right here, and I want each of us to select one without giving away our plums. I don't want to get, I don't want to spoil the plums, so don't go too crazy on a particular guy, but we'll start off with you, B. I'm going to give you the floor on. Do you have a prop tonight that you feel pretty good about?
Yeah, I really like Kenneth Gainwell, even with Metcalf back. Again, think about the matchup. This secondary is good. I think these receivers are going to have a tough time. They're going to need to get the ball in the hands of their best playmaker of late, and that's been Kenneth Gainwell. So I like going over on his receiving yards, seeing 30.5, 31.5. It's up to 33.5 on DraftKings, but that is easily my favorite bet of the week is Gainwell, or of this game, Gainwell over receiving yards.
TJ, do you have anything that's jumping out to you prop-wise tonight?
Yeah, I was looking at potentially somebody like Kaimi Fairbairn, as I'm loading up on him as my highest owned captain tonight. I would be looking at taking his over kicking points or over field goals, or more than, dependent on the site that you were looking at. And the other one I was looking at was admittedly a little bit of a hedge on my DFS lineups because I'm really light on these cheap receivers. So I was looking at maybe taking the more than for Valdez-Scantling's receiving yards, or potentially on his longest reception.
All right. So get rid of Valdez-Scantling, get rid of that filter and bring up that board again. And okay, get to the, instead of all sports, just go to NFL. And that way we can clear out. But it does all the sports for you. But we're just looking at the NFL tonight. So when you look at that very first one, so I'm looking through and I don't, like I can look at, I'm thinking passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, will a guy score, stuff like that. But I don't really dig into like pass attempts and pass completions. But we start to filter it. And if I filter it by grade, or see, TJ's got,
I haven't gotten it set up for me yet. And
that's another thing. You'll see what he's got all the hit percent. It does all that for you. But if you go to EV, that EV thing, that's just a general, like you see where it'll grade it for you. So he's not set up, but when you do sign up, all those lock buttons, that'll unleash all that stuff, win percentage and all. Point being that Aaron Rodgers, less than 33.5 pass attempts, jumped out to me. I started digging into it a little bit, and you know what? That's a hell of a pick right there. So I put that on my slip too. So if you get, that's a little 3-teamer. If you were to fill out that slip builder right there, it would bring it all up on that screen there to the right here, and then you could click a button. It would send it right to Prize Picks for you, where all you would have to do is put a submit button on Prize Picks. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, less than 33.5. I think it's going to be a slow game. By the way, a stat for you, Beer. This is I found this one to be weird too. Odd. To put it odd. You know what team gives up the least amount of pressure to their quarterback this year?
Not sure.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, the wily veteran.
I figured you were going.
The wily veteran gets the ball out. So that leads me to believe maybe Pittsburgh can maybe offset some of that nasty pass rush from Houston, and maybe they can pull the upset. I'm still rolling with Houston, but maybe they pull the upset. So, but I found that to be interesting. No team gives up lesser pressure to their quarterback. They do have a revamped offensive line. They have gotten better at it, but Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out fast. So maybe that's something we can talk about. And maybe what does that mean when you get the ball out fast? Well, you're certainly not waiting for guys to run go routes 40 yards downfield. You're dumping it off. Who are you dumping it off to? You're probably dumping a lot off to Kenny Gainwell. Yep. So I do like that one a lot.
Warren, and we didn't talk tight ends, but I think there's some interesting tight end plays as well. Freiermuth, is going to be more of that short intermediate. It's part of the worry with Metcalf is a lot of his damage will be done on them long balls down the field. I mean, not to say he can't run other routes, but the Austins, MV, that's how they get there, is those big plays. And are they going to have time against this pass rush is the problem. So the running backs and the tight ends are the more intriguing positions to me. So without Washington, Freiermuth has really kind of established himself. I don't think Rodgers likes Jonnu Smith at all. Like, he just is not a big fan of his. So Freiermuth kind of has that role, not to himself, but he's got the upper hand there. And Dalton Schultz, one of them guys, if it's a full week slate, I never play Dalton Schultz. Yeah. It's just one of them. But it's a good matchup here. His receptions props at 4.5. So they're expecting him to catch 4 or 5 passes in this game, and Pittsburgh has struggled with tight ends. So I think both of those guys, super intriguing. Worry about the upside on Schultz, but Freiermuth has shown around the red zone he can get it done. So if you told me you got a Captain Freiermuth lineup, I ain't mad at that one at all.
Yeah, and back to him and Jonnu Smith. It'd be interesting to see how this thing ends up playing out long run. Well, we're not going to have a long run. I don't think the Steelers will win tonight, but if we did, probably their best tight end was Darnell Washington. And he broke his arm, so he's out. So I don't know how this all shakes out. Extra reps for those guys, I don't know how that's going to play out, but certainly a little bit something extra. It's time. It's 11 minutes, beer. We got to do Plums play of the night just in case anybody needs that to help them build a lineup. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you. You're filling in the Plums play of the night for the wild card weekend.
I mean, I really wanted to give you a lone guy, but I love these running backs. I think Gainwell ends up being more owned than Jaylen Warren. I am going Jaylen Warren as my Plums play tonight. It's my favorite position here. If the game's ugly, these guys are going to be so involved, both through the air, on the ground. I think Jaylen Warren gets slept on tonight and ends up in that optimal lineup.
Yeah, so I always have 2 Plums picked out just in case you take one, So I have 2, and you did not take one, and then I have to decide which one do I really want more. Well, one of these guys is coming in a little bit higher owned and a little bit higher of a price tag. And I think he's more low-hanging fruit, and that was Dalton Schultz. So I'm not going to give you that, even though I like Dalton Schultz for all the things we said. So my Plums play tonight, I'm going to go totally different direction. A lower-owned guy with a much cheaper salary, and I'm hoping I can get one of those every 6 or 7 games, 8 games, the guy does something, anything. Hoping that's tonight, and it's the playoffs, and we've seen some weird stuff happen. I'm going Christian Kirk. Okay. Filling in the Plums play of the night, Christian. He's way too cheap, I think.
He is.
I'm looking at everything about him. Since he got back from his injury, I think it was week 9. They had a bye week, and then he missed a couple weeks. Yeah, snaps are still there. The slot work is still there. Everything, the targets are not great, but they're still there. There's something there. This is something I think a lot of teams, you get to the wild card round, get to the playoffs, and you're looking for some sort of mismatch. And I think he's the mismatch for them tonight. So at that price tag, I'm going Christian Kirk, filling in the Plums play of the night. He's 2,600. I'm not expecting a Nico Collins type of game out of him, but it doesn't take much to pay that off. And in this game where touchdowns are going to be a premium, a guy like that could hit the optimal pretty easy if you find the end zone. Anybody finding the end zone tonight may very well hit the optimal, man, because there's not going to be that many of them. So we got 9 minutes left here, guys.
For anyone playing NBA tonight, Jaden Hardy is starting for the Mavericks over Ryan Nembhard.
Okay, good to know. We'll be out of here.
Thank you, DJ.
We'll be out of here just in time. Plenty of time to make those adjustments here. We got 8 minutes left. Fire off those questions if you got any. If you questions dry up, we're gonna split and get out of here. Apologies, fellas. I'm sure you touched on it, but can you speak to your consensus DK cash captain? So not large field, cash. Who's your favorite captain in cash?
Cash, I'm playing it safer with a Collins or a Stroud. Probably Stroud in cash. Tournaments, I'm spread across all 3 running backs basically. Gainwell and Warren being my highest owned.
So I would say I definitely agree with that. Maybe I don't Gainwell. I don't even think Gainwell's a bad cash captain. He saves you
It's
a little.
not.
Collins on DK. You say captain. That leads me to know that you're on DK, which is PPR. I really feel a lot of checkdowns for Gainwell tonight.
Yeah.
So he correct. And speaking of that, here's a question for you, because looking at the props pre-hand, these things are this number is dead even. So who gets more targets tonight? Kenneth Gainwell or DK Metcalf? Because the prop world says these guys are propped at the same number of targets, which is pretty fascinating considering who they are.
Gainwell.
Yeah. Gainwell.
It's just schematically, it makes more sense. Get the ball out quickly, negate this pass rush, and this guy's been good. It's not just checkdowns. I mean, they could have Gainwell and Warren on the field together. He can run routes. He can run routes down the field. I just think Rodgers has that trust in him. Get the ball in his hands, and he's been electric. I mean, been hidden away in Philly for a while. I know you know all about Kenny Gainwell. It's finally time to see that he's playing well, but I'll say Gainwell there. Metcalf's never a huge target guy. You really need them big plays out of him.
Yeah, when the prop sites are giving you the same number of targets on both those guys, it's pretty eye-popping as to a kind of a reduced bit for Metcalf this year. But he's a big play guy, and like somebody, I forget who commented in chat earlier, he could definitely be the captain optimal tonight. He could,
no doubt.
But that's what you got. You got to fade these guys. You got to fade somebody though. So you never know. Let me see here. I saw a question here. Just a second. Oh, how do you feel about double tight ends like Schultz and Freiermuth tonight?
I really like both of them, so I am fine with that. I think it's going to be a way that they can attack these defenses, utilizing both of these guys on each side. So I really like them both.
Okay, 6 minutes left. Some rapid fires for you, and I'll see if we have any more questions after that. Nico Collins, 70.5 receiving yards.
I think he ends up over that. I just don't know that he has a massive game. I'll go over there.
Aaron Rodgers, 204 passing yards, 204.
Under.
Who has more rushing yards, Woody Marks or Jaylen Warren?
That's a good one. I'm going to go Jaylen Warren.
Fairburn, 1.5 field goals, over, under?
Over.
Who has more receiving yards? 2 Texans wide receivers, Jaden Higgins or Christian Kirk?
Higgins.
Who has
not to step on your plums there?
No, Higgins. We don't know where Stroud's going to go with the ball tonight. This is not an easy defense. Who has more out of these Pittsburgh lower-end receivers, Adam Thielen or Calvin Austin?
I like Thielen. He was almost my plum. So a little bonus. You gave a little bonus. I'm gonna say Thielen, the wily veteran here in the playoffs.
Yeah. And one here for because I saw Dan Bach, our beloved fearless leader, Dan Bach wrote this one up on Scores and Odds. He likes Woody Marks receiving yards. Woody Marks 9.5 receiving yards.
Over.
Let's see what we got. Thoughts on Higgins on DraftKings for GPPs?
I think he could fall in that middle ground and get forgotten about. I think you're going to see a lot of people going cheap with MVS, with Austin, with some of these other options, so they can spend up on the higher end stuff. So I think some of the stuff in the mid range could go under-owned.
Freiermuth or leave a bunch of money on the table and roll with Kirk?
In a tournament, if you're playing large field, I want to leave the money. I want to get different. And if you're going to play Kirk, he's going to be highly owned. The way to do it is leave a bunch of money on the table. So I'll go that route.
All right. I am not seeing any more questions. So about 3.5 minutes left until this thing locks up. So we're gonna split out of here. Wild card weekend is going to wrap it up for us. Wild card weekend. Then you got a couple of weeks there. I don't know if we're going to do any shows here for the next 2 weeks, but I know we'll have a Super Bowl show, guaranteed at the very least Super Bowl show, maybe even something in the meantime. So
there'll be a pre-lock for every playoff game.
There you go.
Really?
I think. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I thought I saw that on the schedule, unless I'm just tooting horns I shouldn't be tooting, but I'm pretty sure we'll have a pre-lock show for every playoff game.
Okay. Well, TJ says it, man. I'm gonna have to check the schedule because I might be on it and I don't even know it. So, but we do appreciate you. But I know there's no more Monday Night Football games this year, unless you count next Monday night college football championship, which is going to be a real banger. So, but we're not doing a show for that. But
your thoughts there? You're the college football guy. I mean, Indiana looks like a juggernaut.
Indiana looks like they could roll the bottom 5 teams in the NFL. I say that facetiously, obviously, but they look great. Somehow my timeline got littered with the fact that somehow they're cheating. I don't know how they're doing it, but they look really good. They look great. But man, Miami can cause some issues. Watch out for Miami getting downhill with a big offensive line and just bleeding the clock on them. They won't make the mistakes. Hopefully won't make the mistakes Dante Moore did and turn the ball over as much as he did. So I think the spread's pretty big. It's a touchdown spread. I think it's going to be less than that. So I think anybody can win that game. Going to be fun. But guys, we appreciate you tuning in. No more Monday Night Football, no more Thursday Night Football, but we will have plenty of more NFL stuff lined up for you. Go out there. Good luck in those GPPs. For Beer, for TJ, I'm Chop. We're out of here.